Hello, dear starshines. Welcome to today's lunchtime chats. For those of you who are new, my name is Christina, and I am an acceleration expert. And we are here to talk about those topics and issues that are significant for us star seeds, way showers, and new paradigm visionaries. See, we have capacities, we have abilities and perceptions that are extremely unique to our particular demographic group that is not widely embraced by the rest of our human family. Therefore, the kinds of challenges we face and our perspectives of them are very unique to us. And I am here to provide, to the best of my ability, a liberated perspective on those topics and issues that we struggle with and perhaps get the better of us on a daily basis. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to pause right here and wait for the crew to get on board. And as you guys come into the room, please let me know how this feed is coming through. I am still in the country, and this time in the mountains, way more mountainous than where I was before. And we had a thunderstorm roll in yesterday or last night, and that seemed to affect our internet. So please let me know that the video and the sound is happening. Good to see you, Beverly. Glad you're here. Hello, Tony. Welcome, welcome. Beverly asked, any updates on the solar flares this month? Just so happens I did check that out, and there was a pretty significant solar flare that just happened yesterday, which means it's going to be hitting us today. Okay, so far, no fuzzy. Okay, good, good, good. I'm glad to hear that. I'm super glad to hear that. Then dear Tony says, the feed looks great. Thank you, Tony. Thank you guys for letting me know. All right, so for those of you that have been following closely, you know that I was on the road for a little bit. So I'm on the road anyway because I'm in the rig, but I take side road trips from the main road trip that with the rig. So one of those side road trips that I made was to Arkansas with a crew of the fabulous starshines from the Academy, and I'm gonna just share a little bit of what some of the big insights that happened there that I feel are also impacting our larger human family. So I'm going to talk about some of that. And then I'm also going to talk about these transforming times, these transformative, transitioning times, and all the narratives that come along with it, and how we can navigate these intensities, because they are pretty intense. A lot of people are quite literally afraid for the future of their families because of some of the narratives that are going on. And that's not to say that the narratives are untrue, because many of them are. But I want to go further into that on things that we can be doing to position ourselves to be in a place of synchronistic grace during the big upheaval times. So I want to talk a little bit about that. And then the other thing I was thinking about that might be interesting to talk about is walk-ins. Walk-ins, because I don't know if you guys know about the walk-in phenomenon going on. There's more walk-ins happening now than ever before in recorded history. And who knows, maybe I'm just wrong on that. It's always been happening at this level. I just never knew about it. That could be possible, right? But it's really been catching my attention quite frequently lately, and it started with a conversation that I had with a dear starshine in our academy and her partner, just I think it was a little bit before last week. So I've been mulling around the perceptions and perhaps maybe the purpose of some of the walk-ins happening right now. So I'm going to talk more about that as well. Okay, so first, let me first talk about these transitioning times, because the transition that humanity is experiencing is not just this planet. And I've talked about this many times over, but I'm just going to try to summarize it here. So just to add into the understanding here, the transition, the transformation that's happening right now is, yes, it's on this planet. And yes, it is a potential species ending event. But this transition is also happening throughout our entire solar ring, throughout the star systems that are around us, throughout the galactic plane and beyond. Okay? So these systems, they seem like they're out in the cosmos and not very influential of the here and now. Hi, Louise. Good to see you, darling. But what I'm here to tell you is that what is happening in the cosmic arena absolutely impacts us in the here and now. One of the examples I have is interdimensional AI. Interdimensional AI has been influencing the consciousness of the entire Milky Way galaxy for billions of years. Okay, they're influential over all the different ET races that have come to this planet and influenced the lineages on this, that are still existent here today. They've been around for a long, long time. And those of us who are multidimensionals and trackers, we've tracked these energies off to quantum level beings in the past the cosmic arena, and have made been successful in making adjustments here and there to lessen its influence on the galactic plane. So you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. But this is something that we really need to wrap our heads around so we can truly see the changes happening now as part of a cycle, not end times because we're this or that. And, some of the this or that were accused of being like a cancer on a planet and stuff like that. I'm not saying that humanity isn't imbalanced and is, not facilitating their own demise, because we are in many ways. But what I'm saying is that these systems that our everyday lives depend upon originate in these very far out nesting dolls of reality that impact us in the here and now. And the changes that are happening right now have been originated in these outer nesting dolls. Even say the idea of bloodlines, the royal lineage, those stories of royal lineage goes all the way back to star people, goes back to ET influence. Okay, so because of that frequency, that consciousness that was supposedly, or was imbued into the bloodline of royal families, that's what gave them the divine right to rule. Okay, now we may chalk those up as myths, but what I'm here to tell you is that these are truths being told to us. It's just that we've been dumbed down by having our reality framed up for us over and over and over again, generation after generation after generation. We hear these stories, and our instinct is that it's a magnificent tale, a fantastic tale, but it's the truth. It's a truth in there. Also within those stories are the stories of how those lineages got hijacked by demonic interdimensional influences. Okay, those are also in the stories. And this is something that I've discovered not that long ago, working with a dear starshine named Marguerite Riglioso, that talks about, that is able to trace back all the different recounts of the mythologies and map out what these different stories have in common. And they all express to us that there was major shenanigans going on in the hijacking of our royal lineages. Okay, so these transformational times that we're in are rooted in these outer nesting doll organizing forces that are influencing our here and now. Okay, this is what we need to remember and what we really need to keep in mind, because the narrative of global warming, the narrative of food shortages, the narrative of all these things are truncated to feed us an idea that gives us no way out. Okay, it gives us no option A or B. It's like, this is it and this is how it is, and now we just have to suffer, right? And that doesn't ring the truth for me, because I know the Mother Earth, I know Pachamama is a progenitor of life indefinitely. She will always create life no matter what, because it is because of her that all of us are here. We've said yes to unfolding ourselves from within her dream. Okay, and all of these transformation narratives are all rooted in suffering, in lack of worthiness, sinner, saint, good, bad, right, wrong, the triumph of the light over evil, God wins, all this stuff. That's not to say I don't agree with what a lot of the narratives of people who do have resonate with the idea of God wins, because they also are awake on other levels of narrative that is very rare to find. So I'm going to listen to that. I'm going to support that with my attention. So these transformative ties are extremely, extremely confusing for a lot of us. And I'm going to do my best today to help shed a little clarity here. Okay, so what most people understand is that our solar ring and the planets and the celestials have influence on our psychology and the unfoldment of our consciousness on this planet. We call it astrology. Okay, this is an ancient art that's been around for many thousands of years. And if you overlay the understanding of astrology with shamanic consciousness, as in what some of the indigenous tales tell us, that these beings that are in the solar ring with us are living, breathing entities, just like our Mother Earth is a living, breathing entity. This baseline here is a great way to start, a great place to start to bring this understanding in. So according to astrology, a lot of our control systems that are in place on this planet are held by the consciousness, the planet Saturn. And I've talked a lot about Saturn in this channel many times over because it's so influential and it's changing so much. And the astrology is showing us that, on top of us actually watching these structures crumble before our eyes. Okay. So some of those structures that are crumbling before our eyes, though our media doesn't show it, but it's the education system. All right, our education system. I don't know if you guys realize this. A lot of people have woken up to it being broken. Okay, COVID brought that gift forward. Our allopathic medical system, that too has shed light on how that system is broken. COVID was the blessing that brought that into the forefront. And I'm not talking about people who aren't in the mainstream narrative. They're still working out their suffering. They're still working out the trauma drama. I'm talking about us, new paradigm visionaries, star seeds, way showers. We have a different understanding of what's going on here. Yeah. Okay. The military, we can see the abuse of the military happening right now. Look at the war we're fighting in Ukraine. And no mistake about it, the US is in that war. We're funding it, we're arming them, and we are using all of our political might to leverage. So we are in that war. We are killing Ukrainians and Russians and everybody else getting involved with our participation. And that narrative is really starting to wake people up to realize that there's a reason why both sides, Republican and Democrat, are for the war. Okay, there's no opposing voice to the war, which I find very interesting. And that is what's waking people up. The other control system that Saturn is in charge of is our religious structures. Our religious structures already started falling a while ago, and that is with the fall of the Catholic Church, because of all of the tens of thousands of priests around this planet that were found out to be child predators. You know, they harmed millions and millions of children in many generations with that practice, and that all got blown out of the water, right? All that got revealed, and people woke up. Okay, and then you have our food system, and I'm not talking about natural, organic, holistic farming. I'm talking about the industrial food system. Okay, industrializing it, turning it into a factory farm, like factory pig farming, factory cattle farming, factory dairy farming. Okay, chicken, you name it. Once it gets into the level of factory farming, it is a hugely humane and grotesque, and many people are waking up out of that. Why? Because it's producing a sickness. You know, these animals don't live more than 18 months because they are so deep in their suffering, and people are realizing that there's these callings are having to happen because of the unhealth of those animals. Disease, remember mad cow disease, right? Disease is proliferating through these systems. Our government structure is another one of those systems, comes from Saturn. That too is falling apart. It's falling apart big time. Now, if you look at the mainstream news, you'll see clues of it. But when you just look and talk to the people around you, you'll see signs of it too. And the everyday person is where you're going to notice it. And right now, what is the everyday person talking about? Of course, gas, right? But the everyday person is also talking about food shortages. There's narratives on both the mainstream and the alternative media that is talking about these food shortages. So the guidance that I had many years ago many years ago. This is stemming from a ceremony, a Kuyuriti in Peru. This is a high solstice ceremony where they would do a divination process at this time. They talked about these times, and they said these times were going to be extremely confusing, and the structures are going to be falling away, and the inversions and reversions are going to be getting revealed. Okay, that means systems that are supposed to be feeding and supporting life are going to be revealed as being vampiric and harming life, right? Politicians and leaders that are supposed to be for the well-being of the people, it'll be revealed that they are in the pockets of the corporate giants and not at all in consideration of what happens to the little people, right? Things that are supposed to be good for us are going to realize they're harming us. Things that are supposed to help humanity rise will actually be what is going to be revealed is that which actually squashes us. Okay, so while all this upheavaling and unreversing and all this stuff is happening, we end up feeling extremely lost and confused, and we don't know up from down, and because of that, we question our own compass. So here's what we need to keep in mind, is that these larger cycles, the shifts in these larger cycles, these outer nesting dolls that result in these narratives in the here and now, those structures, those energies exist inside of us. So that means the cosmic consciousness that holds together certain AI dynamics is inside of us. The Saturn consciousness that holds together these different structures that influence our lives lives inside of us. These frequencies are a living, breathing part of our inner ecosystem. Okay. I know that it doesn't seem believable if you're limited, if you have this typical idea of the human experience, but when you're starting to wake up to your multidimensional nature, you start to realize that things are not what they seem. In fact, everything that we think is the truth is actually a lie on some level, right? I mean, I'm sure we've reached that crisis of faith many times in this group. So what I want to say about that is, by you doing your work to harmonize the cosmic frequencies, the galactic frequencies, the planetary frequencies, the human grid works and frequencies, the work that you do to harmonize these existences within yourself impacts your relationship to all these things on the outside, regardless what the collective is doing. This is how we use our inner circle magic to facilitate grace. Facilitates being in the right time, in the right moment. Okay? Also known as synchronicity. And this means that as these structures fall more and more and more, because they are, I say expect it. It's not an if, it's a when. They can stave it off for a period of time, but it is going to have its collapse. And those invested in those systems are going to suffer greatly when that collapse happens. Maybe it'll be for a split second, because they'll everything will be crushed and gone, and they'll wake up suddenly. Maybe, or maybe they're going to carry that suffering on, and it's going to be prolonged. We don't know. It's none of it. Frankly, I think it's none of my business, because my focus is on the harmony, creating the harmony, the harmonic path through this time of chaos and transition. So as we do our inner work and harmonize ourselves to these frequencies falling and these new frequencies rising, this is how we facilitate those synchronicities, being in the perfect place at the right time. So I want you to think back in the times of your life where synchronistic moments happened, where, say, you were moving and you had no help, and a moving angel out of nowhere showed up and helped you, right? Or maybe you had this really big thing in front of you, you had no idea what you're going to do, and a group of angels, people that were like angels, came into the situation and helped you out in a big way. Okay. Think about a major crisis maybe you were in, and this blessing of a human came in onto the scene and helped you navigate through. Okay. This is how synchronicity works. The ego driver has no control over synchronicities. The ego driver is powerless when it comes to this kind of relationship with reality. Hello, dear sister. So welcome to be here. Uh-oh. Please let me know if the video is coming through. It is freezing on my end, like freezing a lot. Okay. So let me know if we're coming through. I want to pause because what I'm about to say is okay. It looks fine. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, Louise, for letting me know that. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So the harmonization and the synchronicities. So those attached to these systems are going to fall. Okay. For Tony, she says it's freezing, but she can still hear me. Okay. Thank you for that feedback. All right. So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when that these systems fall. And it's a matter of, have you done your inner harmonic work? If you've done your inner harmonic work, you are going to be drawn into those situations that are perfectly synchronistic of being in the perfect place at perfect time. So even if you don't have that homestead and don't have that ability to propagate your own food and don't have, all the recommendations that are out there to be a completely self-sufficient human being or be in a completely self-sufficient society or a group of people, community, that part won't matter. What will matter is that you've done the inner work, and you'll be synchronistically drawn to the places that you need to go to. Does it mean it won't be hard and stressful? No, it doesn't mean that. It means that wherever you are, however you are, it'll be okay. That's what that means. So I was thinking a lot about this morning because I'm in Appalachia, and there are a lot of homesteaders. There's a lot of family farms in Appalachia, and a lot of the family farms compare notes. A lot of the Appalachian homesteaders here can compare notes with each other of what's going on. And, first there was the thing with there's contaminated soil that's getting shipped to people. They're buying soil because they're expanding their gardens and stuff like this. So there's all this contaminated soil that has ruined their crops this year. Then there are ranchers sharing their stories of the way the rain is going and the heat is going. Their entire crop to feed their livestock has died already, and there's no hope for it to recover. So, which means their livestock is not going to live, so they have to sell it off. There's all these stories of tragedies that are being shared, and people are just doubling down. They're doubling down to make sure they're even more prepared. They're even more prepared. They're even more prepared. And then, so this narrative overlaps a lot with the another kind of conspiracy theory narrative we have, and that is the story of the Great Reset, where humanity is going to be forced into giving up meat and animal products. Okay. Now, we have weather control systems. You guys know that. We have the ability to influence our environment. We know that. Why is this happening? So why is this happening fits perfectly into the global warming narrative. So if you go into the global warming narrative, humans are parasites on this earth. We're a cancer. The earth really only can sustain a few 100 million of us. La, 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 right? All that, and I don't think that any of that's true. I think those are all narratives that have a thread of truth that trigger our inner child and unsafety and injustices that we've experienced in our soul's journey. And that it's actually funneling us into a road that's like funneling us to make choices that go along a certain agenda. And that is the reset agenda, as you guys may be familiar with. If you don't know about it, research Klaus Schwab. There are in the World Economic Forum. It's on their website. Everything you need to know is on the World Economic Forum website about that. So, in order for us to navigate in a way that's true to us and without going into these fear cycles, we need to understand that we are of nature. We are here because Pachamama wants us here. We are here because we were called and we said yes. And the feminine way, the great mother way, is not to torture and suffer, to go through great hardship in order to earn their standing, earn their title, earn their whatever that identity is. No, the feminine way is to equip them, to equip one with everything that they need to succeed in their purpose. That's the feminine way. That is the mother way, the great mother way. This is exemplified in our movies. It's exemplified everywhere around us if you're paying attention. The example I would have is the woman of the forest, the great lady of the wood in the story of Lord of the Rings. They all took refuge after a terrible loss. They lost Gandalf, their spiritual leader, let's say. They're the one that had the wisdom to guide them, to launch them in their journey. They lost him, and they took refuge in the realm of her realm. And as they launched on their journey, each and every one of them got a gift that helped them in their journey to succeed in their path. Okay, every single one of them. They didn't get the reward after they finished. They were given everything that they needed for their journey. This is how the great mother way works. This is how the great mother Pachamama works. This is how the great cosmic mother works. We are giving everything we need to face the adversity and the challenges to succeed on our purpose. We're given everything we need. So when we keep that in the perspective, when these narratives are coming to us, that can help us sort through. Yes, there's a lot of fear in these narratives. Yes, stuff is going to fall. Yes, there is going to be a lot of suffering. Yes, many souls are choosing to check out right now. All that's a yes. There's an and to this. There's a yes and. And that it's a yes and ... You fill in the ... What the truth of your spirit has to say fills in the ... Yes, and we are creating a new world. Yes, and we are here to dream a new world into being. Yes, and I chose to be here with you during these times. Yes, and billions of us have chosen to participate in this transition. You see what I mean? Notice what's happening in your body when we do it like this. All of a sudden, those twists and those gut-wrenching, like in the fear, oh my gosh, I don't have a savings, I'm not out of debt, la la la, all the different recommendations haven't done. But it's okay, because you are living in the yes and nature. And this is how true flow and the being true in our frequency is. It's a yes, this is happening. We're not denying anything. We're not denying this, the suffering isn't there. We're not denying the pain. We're not denying the uncomfortableness. We're saying, yes, that exists. And ... Okay. Okay, I have a... all right, so this is from Bon Figlione. I think I can say the name better now. Thank you. Says, hi, Christina. I cannot find the episode where you mentioned someone that channels dance to help release the energies from the light body. It relates to their star lineage as well. Love your chats. Oh, thank you, darling. Gosh, I mentioned that a few times about dance. So, okay, this is Gabriel Roth was a Westerner that discovered the magic of dancing on a shamanic level. Okay. Well, it is off topic, but it's also part of this, because when things get stuck, we can't think the energy out of our body, though we would love to. We can't meditate the energy out of our body, though we would love to. If we could, we would. We can't just, that when things are stuck, they're stuck for a reason. There's something inside of us we don't know about that's handling, it's making that situation happen. So it's a yes, and what am I going to do about it? What else can happen? What else is possible, right? So this is the dancing is huge, huge, huge. And it's all about the rhythm of the dance, different kinds of rhythms that you do. So the seed I want to give you, the woman's name is Gabriel Roth. That is a Westerner that discovered this, but this is an ancient thing that's kept alive and well among the Sangoma. medicine people in Africa, in the islands, and also here in the United States. Yes, there are many Sangomas that still live here in the West. Many, there's many movements, a lot of the Jamaican movements. Oh my gosh, yes, actually there's this massive Jamaica movement, and I'm not talking about the Rastafarians, though I believe it is in that movement as well. There's another kind of holistic wellness movement that's coming out of the roots of the Jamaican people, which of course the roots are in Africa as well. So there's a huge movement coming out of them. There is, yeah, I had to get specific on what lineage you mean. If it comes to me, I'll mention it, but those are some seeds for you to follow along, to research and find things out. Okay. Yeah, I wish I knew. I don't have the episodes off my head, so I really can't tell you. All right, dear sister Lisa says, plant people are calling reclusive human being plant people out of their comforts to connect with a greater circle of others. About 5 years ago, I was called to create a world you want v what you don't versus what you don't. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, yeah. And here, actually, thank you. You're getting me right back on track. Thank you, darling sister. You're awesome. Okay, so here's the deal. The plants talk to us, the trees talk to us. Our nature that's all around us is a living, breathing consciousness that we are meant to be in connection with, okay? The reason why we're not in connection is because we're completely distracted. We're in these low vibrational belief systems and frequencies that in its root tells us that Mother Earth is our enemy, okay? This is this is this is Judaism, this is Christianity, this is Islam. All three of those root books tell us that we were cast from the garden and we were cursed to reap thistles and thorns. So whether you practice these religions or not, if your family lineage did over many generations, these belief systems are anchored within you. And those belief systems in our subconscious literally cut us off from being able to communicate with nature. But here's the thing, it's possible to have a relationship with nature where they talk to you, they tell you if you are looking for this is where you find it. They invite us, they draw us in to bring us into those places of synchronicity, into being in the right time, right place, okay? There are medicines, there's a huge plant medicine movement going on where people are, I'm talking about specifically the psychedelic side of plant medicine. There's a huge movement right now where people are waking up that these plants are here. The spirit of these plants are here to help humanity wake up out of their sleep. Okay, many elementals are reaching out to humanity to talk to us, to teach us that we are in an uncivilization. We think we're the civilized ones, and the people living in nature are the barbarians, but it's the other way around. It's the other way around. We reward people who behave in ways that cause harm to others. We reward those businesses. A business pollutes the river and our government does nothing about it. Our leadership does nothing about it. The people's voice that have some complaints are nothing happens for them, right? We're in a place where all the most, or I should say less savory aspects of our human nature are elevated and rewarded, and those who are pursuing the more noble truths within themselves are, get pushed down, are not favored. They get gone after. In fact, if you're in the holistic medicine industry, this is true. You've had people go after you. We actually now have our federal government invading Amish facilities for the way they process their animals. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. Since when have we been going after the Amish? They've always been, you stay away from us, we'll stay away from you. We're in our bubble, you're over there. And here we are now, our federal government's going off of people, going after those kinds of people because they're living according to their belief systems and what their core truth is, which is to be humble, to be kind, to take care of your people, to be dependent upon the crops of the, grow everything, earn everything by engaging your life force energy with Mother Earth. As you do that, she will always reward you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So these as these blinders move out and those of us who are awake to these levels wake up, we have the entire natural world as allies here. So if we need to walk, if all the electricity goes to shit and it's total chaos and there's no food anywhere, and all you have is your bug out bag and your feet, you're going to be guided to exactly where it is you need to go. If you open yourself up for that, you will be guided. Okay, so that's the doomsday stuff, and that's the way through it. But I also want to talk about some miracles that are going on right now, and this is, I think, why a lot of people are really freaking out, is because there is a major joining of a narrative and storyline that has been the root of some pretty significant fracturing within the human consciousness, and that is the war between Lemuria and Atlantis. You guys, the war between Lemuria and Atlantis. This is actually where the war against Sasquatch began. So they would kidnap Sasquatch and then sentence them a punishment, which usually included shaving their bodies, and then they would get, tortured until death or whatever. So the Atlanteans actively engaged implementing pain and suffering on elemental beings in the spectrum of reality. So the elemental beings were pushed out more and more and more and more, and there was a war that ensued. And the Atlanteans, of course, we know, lost, because the fall of consciousness became extreme, and they had actually succeeded in destroying their entire civilization. So that's the summary of the story. It's a much bigger story than that. But what I want to say about this, and this relates to the Arkansas trip, is that there are many humans right now, many of them in the academy, but there's others all throughout the universe, throughout this planet, who are successfully uniting the consciousness frequencies, which means we are successfully decoding and recoding the tablets of life, the actual encodements, from which I'm talking about 6-dimensional, interdimensional, and beyond encodements, from which all life is organized. And as the story goes, Thoth stole these encodements and turned them into emerald tablets. And within those emerald tablets contained a false promise. And so what I want to say is that manipulation is getting decoded and recoded into a frequency that is harmonic with the Great Mother again, which means inside of us, there are new levels inside of us that we can harmonize. And as we reharmonize the frequencies of the Atlantean Lemurian rift, because those were both interdimensional civilizations, okay? As we heal that rift within ourselves, it is assisting humanity's healing of the rift within their own subconscious, okay? Because we are destroying things because we have unseen, unacknowledged wounds within our subconscious. That's why we reenact the same injury over and over and over again. How many times do we need Rome to be built and fallen? How many times? Okay, this current fall of the US that's coming, this is yet another version of the story of the rise and fall of Rome, right? The rise and fall of this kingdom, the rise and fall of that kingdom, right? Same thing about war. How many times do we need to go into a world war? How many times do we need to instigate a world war, right? It's all because the underlying woundings have never been addressed, and they continue to replay themselves out over and over again. So by reuniting these frequencies and doing our part to bring harmony within ourselves between the consciousness of the Atlantean existence and the consciousness of the Lemurian existence, this is actually reharmonizing us on a deeper interdimensional plane that we can now claim autonomy within. We're no longer driven to constantly relive the battle. And you can call this the battle between intuition and intellectualism. You can call it the battle between science and spirit. You can call it the battle between logic and creativity. Okay, whatever you want to call it, these frequencies, as we harmonize them within us, that paves the way. That paves the way for others to be even more likely to do the same. And if you look at the greatest minds this planet has ever had, they were harmonized in these, you know, they, like Leonardo da Vinci, a great example. And yes, a lot of people say he was a Palladian and an ET and all this stuff, which maybe he was a vegetarian, and he was very out of place of his time. But a lot of people, maybe in the story, they say it was because he was a genius. But what did he do? He was a master of sciences and the creative arts, right? He had those frequencies united within him that expanded his ability, you know, expanded his impact even. Okay. So these patterns are undercurrents that influence on a deep subconscious level, and they are shifting and changing. So that is working in our favor big time when I'm talking about these transformative times and the pain that's coming with the fall of these structures. Okay. Again, us doing our work matters. It matters big time. A lot of people think if we do our work and we create peace within, then we won't have to suffer. And it's like, you know what? Suffering is not suffering is a choice until it's not. We cannot make other people's choices for them. We cannot force people into being more open-minded. We've seen what that looks like. I mean, look at the what I call left-wing tyranny. We see what it looks like. Things get shoved. You shove things down people's throat, you're going to get a major rebel happening. They're gonna buckle down and double down on whatever it is they're working against. In this case, it'll be, you know, to change their ways. So suffering is a choice, and we can't make other people's choices. But what we can do is harmonize these frequencies inside of us so we can navigate this turmoil through grace, synchronicities, right? This is how we do it. And then all right, and then I want to get on that last topic, walk-ins. So I was having a conversation with some star shines that are new to our community, and we're talking about walk-ins. One of them fully is integrated with the recall of being a walk-in, and another one is a walk-in, but it didn't come in one big chunk, came in many chunks, came down in many chunks. And the way to imagine this is, imagine you having a really profound soul retrieval that completely changed everything about you, completely changed everything about your belief systems and stuff like this. So speaking with these two star shines got me thinking about soul retrieval. It got me thinking about quantum, and it got me thinking about walk-ins and why there's so many here. And maybe they've always been around, I just haven't been aware of them. That's possible, because because when you're all of a sudden made aware of something, you see it everywhere. Like when someone talks about Volkswagen bugs, and all of a sudden you're seeing Volkswagen bugs everywhere. I know that that's a thing. But I'm just feeling into this, and I know many walk-ins, and they all have very different stories, and they're all very different. There are similarities, of course, but so let me talk first about walk-ins. Okay, so you have walk-ins where there is a walk-in coming in and taking over the biosuit that another soul was originally incarnated in. Okay, now when that is done through consent, that's I would say that is a benevolent walk-in. That's when the soul that originally had that body leaves and gives it to the other walk-in, that's a consensual passing of the biosuit. Okay, and there are many examples of that. And that's interesting. That's interesting that kind of thing can happen. Now, usually what happens, what it looks like, is that person has a near-death experience. And during that near-death experience, the soul moves on and the walk-in comes in. And very often it's something around the heart attack. The heart has to stop beating for a minute, and then the walk-in comes in. Others have a traumatic experience, and maybe they lose consciousness for a minute or something like this, and they wake up feeling very different. So there's a spectrum here of how a walk-in experience can happen. There's a woman that was in our IU many years ago that we met her. these are a couple friends of mine. They were telling me the story. They met her in the first session of their IU, and they get together twice a year for several years. And the woman's name, she had her name, and then they see her, I think, a year later, and this time she's a walk-in, and everything about her demeanor changed, everything about her changed. She was completely different preferences, different tastes, all this stuff. She was a walk-in. And for them, it made sense, because when they met the woman in the beginning, it seemed like she really wasn't here, and she didn't really want to be here either. So because that was a prevailing for her in her experience, when she had the opportunity to switch out, to tap out, so to speak, she did. And of course, another soul was more than happy to take her place. Okay. So then you also have walk-ins that happen through what maybe can be perceived as a soul retrieval, but without the soul retrieval part, in the sense of without, right? So the old school way of going into a soul retrieval, someone journeys to the underworld and they retrieve a piece of you that was lost, and they address the contracts, the agreements, the beliefs, and whatever else that facilitated the splitting off of that part of you. And then they also bring back a gift, like a spiritual gift that part can also wield. So they blow that quantum back into wherever it needs to go within your body, and with it, it's free of all the agreements and constructs and stuff that were once so, and they have a spiritual gift with them for you to integrate with. This is soul retrieval in the traditional sense. Now, multidimensionals coming onto the scene really kind of gave soul retrieval a twist, in that we started to do soul retrieval on a stellar level, on an intergalactic level, and even on a cosmic level. And I think since us multidimensionals started coming onto the scene and doing soul retrievals like this, I imagine, we're actually facilitating walk-in experiences, but without the old soul having to leave. It's that more of that soul that's in the body is now in the body, and a lot of the additional quantum that has come and integrated are aspects of them that have never, ever, ever incarnated on this planet before, or even in the solar ring before, and perhaps even in this galaxy before. So as those things are happening, as a multidimensional practitioner comes onto the scene, I have a feeling that we're facilitating walk-in experiences. You guys let me know, for those of you that are doing healing work, if you have a sense of what I'm talking about here. Because the chats that I've done, especially a year ago, 2 years ago, I talked a lot about Akashic records being truncated. Okay, and when we're born here, the Akashic records that we have access to and that other practitioners have access to are not the full story. And that once you have soul aspects of you come to you, get retrieved, that are still residing in Sirius, or soul aspects of you that are still residing in the star systems of the Pleiades or Arcturus or whatever, and as you start retrieving those aspects of you, your Akashic becomes extremely dynamic, and it changes. Your Akashic records change drastically when one reintegrates with stellar aspects. So I shared my thoughts about it then, but now with the conversation that I had with dear sister Louise when we're in Arkansas, it's coming to me on a whole nother level. And this is also a very hopeful thing. And of course, it's great that we can actually end on a hopeful note with this. Hey, dear Sherry, good to see you, sweetie. All right, so, and that is, all right, so the solar flare activity is having a lot of impact with us. The Schumann resonance stuff is having a lot of impact on our biosuits, our consciousness, stuff like this. Now, and you have, I don't know, would we say that more than half of humanity plugged into the narrative of, the narrative of who we are, the lies, right? Plugged in, like maybe half of humanity is plugged into our political system actually is about Democrat and Republican, and that our leaders truly are trying to do what's good for the people, and that the war actually is something just. I mean, do we agree on maybe half the people are on that? So what do you do with half the people? What do you do when half the people are in crisis and turmoil, and they're destroying their environment, and they're destroying the people around them, and stuff like this? Okay, so here's a new theory that's coming forward for me, and I want to share it with you guys. What if the cosmic alignment, the galactic alignment, our solar ring alignment, our Pachamama alignment reaches a place where all these stargates can open at once? All the once reversed and hijacked, portals of consciousness are opened at once. What if all of humanity all of a sudden gets a massive cosmic soul retrieval, and they just open up to the truth of who they really are, like how the Walkins have shown us is possible on this planet, where they just completely different people. Completely different people. What if that's actually what this transition looks like? Like a certain kind of alignment happens cosmically, galactically, celestially, planetarily, and boom, all of us become deeply infused with more of our higher selves, whatever we want to call it, than ever before. Ever before. I'm talking about since the seeding of humanity the first time, right? There's been 5 or 6 seedings of humanity, but even before then, right? More quantum than ever is embodied. What if it looks like that? My response to that is like, wow, that is an act of grace, like beyond anything I've ever imagined. Okay. And what does your body do when you hear that news? Like, holy crap, could that actually be it? Could that actually happen? Now, don't take my word for it. Feel into it. I live and breathe in this world, and I have lots of ways of perceiving and contemplating. So this is very normal for me. But if this is a place that you visit because of your life the way it is, this might be an overwhelming thought. Thank you, Tony. She says, what a beautiful thing to be a part of. Yes, yes, yes. And before that, she was talking about, how do I get help bring all of me into this body? Yes, so that is a process. I have to say that is a process, and it's worth doing. It's worth pursuing that process. All right, Lisa Marie says, more quantum embodied. Let it be so. Woohoo! I'm in, yeah, right? So here's the thing. When we are every time, and I don't know about you guys, but every time I have a retrieval of quantum, I feel so much more fluid. I feel so much more love. I feel so much interconnectivity. I feel so much more me, more that I belong here, and an acceptance, and all these qualities of accepting what is become so much easier as more and more of my quantum comes back to me and I integrate it. The key is integrating it, because if we let the powers of our ego driver take charge, our ego driver is going to fight the integration tooth and nail. So it's helpful to have some techniques to keep you open to these quantum levels that are reintegrating. So maybe it's meditation, maybe it's a sacred dance practice, maybe it's a workout, maybe it's a walk in the park every day. Maybe there's something that has high priority in your lifestyle that helps you recenter with who you truly are, so the ego driver can't control that process. Because I do feel like it's unstoppable. The awakening is unstoppable. And that particular hypothesis that I just shared with you seems to, in my brain and my understanding, seems to be a realistic way for it to be possible. Because even though I know it's unstoppable, when I look at the world, I'm wondering, how is that possible? Maybe you guys feel that too. I don't know. That's just some of the things that go on inside of me as I'm watching these things unfold. So, ETs have been controlling the narrative on this planet for a long, long time in every single direction. So no one lineage has the answer. No one practice has the answer. No one school of thought has the answer. And I know a lot of people revere and highly revere and venerate indigenous teachings, which do have so much truth in them that are very, very helpful, especially about us being the caretakers of this earth, us being caretakers of the beings we share this planet with. Okay, but do know that all of indigenous records trace back to an ET origins, you know, and not all those ETs are 100% in the light. The Syrians aren't, the Pleiadians aren't, the Arcturians aren't. Okay, there's more. The Andromedans aren't, the insectoids aren't, the reptilians aren't, the grays aren't. Okay, none of them are 100% in the light. So they all have both light and dark playing out within their consciousness. So just take that into consideration, that the narrative on all sides of the fence on this planet, in every race and walk, has been influenced by ETs. Whether that was a benevolent influence or not remains to be seen. And I think these times are going to be the times that reveal it. You know, there's indigenous records here in North America that talk about the Greys helping different tribes survive hard times, survive catastrophic events. You know, a lot of people don't realize that. The Ojibwe have that story that's called the Seven Shield Prophecies. Now, there's layers to that mystery. There's layers to those teachings. So you won't get to the layer that I'm talking about until you first get, go through the first layers of the teachings. And then once you get to more of the core, if you're lucky and that particular indigenous teacher is willing to be open with you, they will reveal, they will either facilitate the experience for you or put you in the position of having that experience, right? None of them will directly tell, most of them will not directly tell you, right? But that is there. All right, Blazing FF. I love that. Says many full body shivers about soul retrieval walk-in stuff. Awesome. Cool. All right. So potentially you're resonating with that. Very good. Well, I would love to hear feedback about that. That was a hypothesis I came to in conversation with dear sister Starshine Louise when we're driving into Arkansas, to the place where we're doing our retreat. And that really felt significant to me. And also it framed up things a little bit differently for me as well. I don't have a good words to put to it, so I won't talk about it here. And plus we're running out of time. So perhaps next week or the week after, I'll be able to flesh this out in a way where I can talk about it more. But in the meantime, thank you guys. There is so much happening on this planet, and it is together by connecting with each other. This is a support system. This is how we get through these pieces, because if there's something you don't know, someone else in your community might, and they'll share. If there's something that you need and you don't have, someone else in your community may have an overabundance of it. So continue to connect with each other, continue to support each other. It matters more and more and more. So it's getting more and more important that we stay connected, that we stay in those supportive networks. And of course, we try to do what we do. We do things within the academy for those who really want to dive deep into unwinding these blind spots and really get into the truth of who they are. We do quantum retrievals all the time. So that's something that is part of inner circle magic. It's part of changing the harmonizing frequencies within. We do this on a regular basis. So if you're interested in working in the community in the way we do it, you can check out lightbodyacademy.com. But we have all these other free resources out here. We have Rise of the Multidimensional Human on Facebook. There's lots of beautiful souls there. Now, I am not very interactive online. You have to know that. I have so much bandwidth for being on electronics, and when it's up, it's up. And I don't push it, because this is how I manage my own sanity. Okay, so don't expect me to be super interactive in those groups. It's really about the community. The people are amazing. So we also have a Telegram group called Multidimensional Human, which I encourage you guys to check out, because that's the way to interact without getting flagged, tagged, or censored. And then, of course, we have other outlets. YouTube, of course, is our Light Body Academy channel. And we have some of the other facilitators within our academy stepping forward in their way showership in really beautiful ways. So we have Stacey Hernandez doing the reset, which is a free energetic cleanse reset every month. It's like the last Sunday of the month. And then we have dear sister Laurel, who is an exo-species communicator, and she's helping people. You can just book a session with her. She's helping people get in contact with the elemental beings that are already around them that are ripe for communication with you. So she can help you with that. Then we have Ray Ellen that does the planetary encodements, where she talks about the energies of the astrologies of the moment, and then has a meditation to journey deeper into those frequencies that can support you. So there's lots of free stuff here to support you in your process. I hope you guys connect and join in, because like I said, there's amazing people in all of these communities, and I'm so grateful to be a part of it. So that's it for me. I will see you guys next time. Mwah. Make it a great day, guys. Make it a beautiful, great day for yourselves and your beloveds. Bye-bye.